I know some of y'all might not know, but I used to live in Birmingham, Alabama, and that's where I started doing comedy at. So worked a lot of clubs down south, and I worked Atlanta and like all the major cities down there. And Nashville is a city that I used to go to quite often. There's a comedy club there called Zanies, and I had worked Zanies one night, and after the show, like I always do, I looked for a jam night, and there's plenty of them in Nashville. So I went down what they call Music Row down there, where there's a lot of clubs and recording studios and musicians. And I'm gonna tell you right now, man, some of the finest musicians live and frequent Nashville, and I got a chance to jam with some of them, man. Like this one particular night, I went downtown. I was already actually staying downtown, but I went to this club that had open mic night, and there was this guy, man. He was a guitar player, singer, songwriter. I can't remember his name to save my life, but one thing I do remember about him was he went on to become famous, and I don't know exactly. He was a white guy. I really don't remember his name, and I wish I could. But at the time, he was just a guy out there trying to make it. And I just happened to be talking to him, man, at the club, and he played acoustic guitar, and I told him that I was a comedian and that I played harmonica. And he said, "Man, you can accompany me if you want. You know, it's just a open jam night, man. It ain't no reason why you can't get up there and have some fun while you're in town." So I was like, "Cool, man." So I got up, man. I played with him. I played a few songs with him. And I just kind of hung out that night, man, and watched some of the artists get up. A lot of singers, a lot of songwriters and stuff. And after that jam was over, he was like, "Hey, man, I'm going over to this other club. I got a friend over there that's performing." And it was a lady. I was like, "Yeah, man, ain't got nothing to do. I'll hang out with you." So we went over to this other club in Nashville. And it was this lady singer. And she sang some country, and she did a little bit of R&B type stuff, and she was just kind of doing some jazz type stuff. She had a wide range of different material that she could do, and she had this bass player that was playing with her. He was a black guy, and he was a real good bass player. And then they took a break, and he was talking to her, and he was like, "Hey, I'm hanging out with this comic, and he's a harmonica player." And she was like, "Wow." She said, "Hey, you want to come up and sit in on a tune or two?" I was like, "I would love to." So I got up, man, and I did a couple of numbers with her. And on this one particular number, she featured the bass player, and the bass player did a solo. And this dude did the most incredible solo that I had ever heard in my life. I mean, he ripped this solo, man. And it turned out to be, like I said, a really fun night. But the thing that I wanted to say about the whole story was, I was working in Chicago, and they had this entertainment magazine. I was working with his Barrel of Laughs Comedy Club. And they got this entertainment magazine, like, once a week or whatever. And I'm looking through this magazine, and I see this article, and it said something about Swamp Blues, artists coming to Chicago, and the name of the band was Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. So I'm reading the article, and I'm looking at the picture, and I'm looking at the guy that plays bass, man. I'm like, this dude look familiar. This dude look really familiar. And I read the article, and lo and behold, man, it's what's the Wooten dude? Wow, what is his name, man? Wow, the bass player Wooten. I can't believe I went blank on Wooten's first name. Okay, now I remember the guy's name. The guy's name was Victor Wooten. He was the bass player for Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. And I didn't know who Victor Wooten was. As a matter of fact, when I read the article in the paper, I still didn't know who he was. I had never heard of Bela Fleck and the Flecktones. So that's when I got real curious. So I started getting some of their material. And man, I kind of became a big fan of theirs. I started getting everything that I could get. And I come to find out that Victor had some stuff on the internet where he was showing his bass techniques and the different basses that he played. And somebody had done a documentary on him about how young he had started playing and how an accomplished bass player he was. And this dude was like world class, man. He was, I don't know, man. I can't really say where I would put him as far as bass players go, but he definitely would have to go up in the top 10 somewhere. And I'm like, I can't believe it, man. This is a dude I was jamming with in Nashville. And it turned out to be this is a really, really famous bass player. And that was like a real surprise to me that I was in Nashville jamming with Victor Wooten. Didn't know who the hell he was. Didn't even know actually how good he was until I saw other material on him. And that was a real shocker to find out exactly who he was. So that's my story about Bela Fleck, Nashville, and Victor Wooten. But I got a lot more stories about musicians and music. I'll get back with y'all on that. Take care.